Hello. I was going to say good morning there, but I think we're just about at 12 o'clock, ready for the third of our live interviews today. I hope you saw the ones earlier. If not, I think you'll be able to see them, the recorded versions. So my name's Nick from the Online Wool Show. If you don't know the web address, and you can read that writing in the background, then that's where to go. If you want to text me a comment or a question during this interview or chat, please do. And here's the schedule for the rest of the day, one at 2 o'clock and one at 3 o'clock. So the theme of this interview, group interview, chat, whatever you want to call it, is accessories and wearables. So I've got 3 people to talk about there, and I think, and I hope you can see them all. Let me introduce first Max. Max, who's from Max's World. Hello, Max.
Hi there.
Hello, you're up in Leeds?
That's right, yeah. Very close to Spring into Wool.
Sorry?
Very close to Spring into Wool.
You are? You're what, about 10 minutes drive or less?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll all be there Spring into Wool. For any viewers that are watching who doesn't know anything about me, the Online Wool Show is the online version of wool shows that I do, and Spring into Wool, I'm the main organiser of that, which is a wool show in Leeds in April when it's on, and Southern Wool Show in Newbury, and we're hoping that'll be on in September. Okay, end of plug for wool, the other wool shows. So we'll be talking to Max again in a few minutes. Now we whiz over cross country to Herefordshire. Is that right, Bronwyn?
That's right, Nick. Yes, hi there.
Hi, Bronwyn from Fabazar, and we'll be talking more to... You okay?
Yes, thank you. Great here. Yeah, very windy in Herefordshire, but we're holding on.
Yeah, you're more on the west, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of, I suppose it's funneled through the Welsh hills and
definitely, yes.
batters you. And no, don't tell me, Jen. Hampshire?
Yes, yeah, we're in Hampshire.
See, I'm completely prepared.
Yeah.
Jen runs the company Beaker Button, and we'll be learning all about that and what Jen does. Although there is a clue around Jen's neck to what she does, and around her wrists, and probably other parts of her body. Oh, earrings as well. Yeah. You're not thinking of doing something round the glass.
It has occurred to me, but I haven't worked out how to glue them on and not get in the way of my eyes.
Yes, or a hat, a big funny hat. Anyway, we'll talk more about Dorset buttons, which is what Jen does, and why it's called Beaker Button. Well, let's talk now, Jen. Why Beaker Button and not Dorset Button?
It's because I have a degree in archaeology. So when I started my company, I wanted to do a nod to my archaeological roots, and I spent 10 years of my life working at Stonehenge. And Stonehenge, one of the phases of Stonehenge, was built by the Beaker people, so it just kind of made sense, really. So Beaker's nothing to do with buttons; it's to do with sort of my past. So it's kind of combining the two.
I mean, would they have made buttons in the Beaker age?
Probably not. They didn't really have buttons until about the 1600s. So Dorset buttons were one of the first types of button, really. They tended to have toggles and ties more. So back in the sort of prehistoric, they would have had toggles and ties. They'd have tied their clothing on.
You see how incredibly informative.
Sorry.
You came here to see all about accessories and wearables, and now you have learned about the recency in human history of the button, the simple button. So more facts may be flowing your way. Bronwyn, can we bring Bronwyn in quickly and just say Fabazar? Well, it's a fab name, and I guess it stands for Fabulous Bazaar.
Yes, that's it. Bazaar with an A, hopefully, and not an I, Nick. Yes. But this is a kind of conglomeration of all the things that I love to do, basically shopping, designing, and travel. And I used to run a trekking company in Nepal, and I think my love of all the textiles that I now sell came from traveling around the East and just seeing how fantastic craftspeople were developing lots of different things that they used on a daily basis, but bringing it to the 21st century really, and making it into a business for them. So that's where I've ended up now.
So do you bring all your kind of materials in from places like Nepal? And
yes, I do. So I'll go and source fabrics. I mean, I do work with things like the Himalayan Nettle Trust, which is something quite close to my heart, where we encourage young women who are actually living in the hills of Nepal, in the lower Himalaya, to gather nettles, which are obviously free, and to finally weave those and spin them into products that I can then buy directly from them and sell at events like Spring into Wool. So that's a very direct result of bringing things into the fashion industry.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, that's like nobody else I know on the wool circuit would be. Are they doing anything similar to that?
I don't know. I think people do use plants. So if you think of all the other fibres that people can use, you know, different components which they put into weaving, for example. So there are lots of different things like jute and cotton and raw fabrics, natural fabrics that people can use in different mediums. So I think this whole area is very open to people using natural fibres for their craft. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk a bit more to Bronwyn about that soon. Let me just bring Max in and say, how did you get going doing jewellery and is it moths?
And
Moths or butterflies?
Yeah. No butterflies, no, only moths.
So what made you first want to? Is it knitting? You're knitting?
So yeah, I got into knitting when I was at university studying sculpture, and I wasn't getting on very well with it, so I started making big knitted things. And then after that I thought I'll do a little business making jewellery, making little knitted earrings, and then that was about 10 years ago or so, a bit longer now. And yeah, so Max's world is just everything that I make.
Yeah, so we'll see more. Sorry, I'm flicking from person to person here like a crazy person, but we'll see some of Max's amazing little knitted earrings and things later. And that around your neck, that's knitted, no, isn't it? What's that made from? Sorry?
That's acrylic.
Oh yeah, so you make that as well?
So I design them and get them laser cut and put a chain on them.
Yeah, great. Okay, so Jen, can you I mean, you said about doing archaeology and that, but we haven't heard how you got into the famous Dorset button. Why did you first see that or get into
well, I've been making them most of my life. My gran was a very accomplished needlewoman and knitter and crocheter and, you know, all that kind of stuff. I was one of those kids that was very bored very quickly. I still am actually one of those kids that's very bored very quickly. And I used to follow my gran around like a little lost sheep, begging for things to do. So she pretty much taught me everything. She had 3 boys. So from her point of view, it was great to have a girl to play with. And to show things to. And one of the things she showed me was Dorset buttons, and I've been in love with them ever since, really. They're just so cute to make, and they're really quick and easy, and they're really practical. They make brilliant buttons for everything. And so for many years, that's all I made, was just buttons and sort of put them on things. But I opened my shop about 8 years ago and started playing with what you could do with them. So instead of just making buttons to go on clothing, I would also make jewelry, or I'd make all sorts of other bits and pieces and sort of push the boundaries of what you can do with them. So, and they haven't really reached the limits yet.
Yes, I was quite astonished because you sent a video in, which is on the online wool show now, which people can see from your stall page and also on the list of videos page. And I was absolutely, I literally fell off my chair. Well, but I mean, it's not just buttons, is it? It's all sort of decorative, amazing things that people can see that, and hopefully we'll see if you've got things to hand.
Yeah, I mean, I can show you a few bits if you want. Are you up for
that?
Yeah,
see it now, yeah.
So there's, obviously you get buttons which are just, they stay on your clothing and things, and they can be all sorts of different sizes. But then you can make things like this, So this one's a shawl pin strapped on the back here, and you can do different patterns and different designs and things. And then this one's in one of my new books. So this is a little sunflower brooch, and this is made using beads. I was very against beads for quite a long time, but I've sort of become a bit addicted to putting beads on buttons now. And then in the 1930s and 40s, they were doing things like this. So this is a Posy Brooch. And again, you can make lots of different flowers and trees and all sorts of other bits and pieces. And if you bear with me 2 seconds, sorry.
Yeah.
Because you can see the difference in sizes. So this one's done on an embroidery hoop, and this one's done on a little tiny 3.5 mil ring. So size is not really an issue either. And I have a hula hoop one which won't fit on the screen, and you can do different patterns. So you can make wall hangings with them, you can decorate boxes with them, you can use them on clothing, you can make jewelry, and there really aren't any limits to what you can do with the Dorset button.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, when I saw the video, I was quite astonished. And you've done a little video on there to show people the basics of making a button as well, yes, which is really good.
Yeah, and it seems to be getting quite a lot of attention. I've had a few people come back to me and say how nice it is and how clear it is, which is good, because I filmed it in my kitchen with my phone strapped to my chest and tied around shoelaces on my neck. So it was quite a feat of video expertise. So, but yeah, it was good fun to do.
Well, the result was really good, I must say. So if anybody wants to see about, so it's a sewing technique basically, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, it would come under embroidery. It's basic blanket stitch and back stitch. So you blanket stitch around a ring, you wrap your thread around once you've sort of covered your ring to make spokes, and then you stitch around the spokes, and you do back stitch around the spokes, which makes them stick out. There's lots of different types of stitched buttons. Dorset buttons are a particular type, and they have this, you know, they follow this methodology with the blanket stitch and the back stitch. You cover the ring first, and then you move on and wrap your spokes, and then you stitch around your spokes. So all of them are made the same way, but they're just different sizes, different threads, back stitch in different ways to create different patterns and things. So they're really easy. I've never I've been teaching button making for 10 years or more. I've never had anyone I can't teach to make a button to some degree. So, yeah.
So can I bring Bronwyn back in? Hello again, Bronwyn.
Yes, hi there.
So have you got a favourite product, just offhand, that you can show?
Offhand, I have got some favourite products here. These are some of our lovely felt purses. We work with lots of women's groups for all of our products, and we buy directly from them. So in Nepal, they're doing some fantastic felt products, which are always very popular, especially for wool shows. And actually, I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but later on, I'll be letting you know that these are part of my promotion for today. So people might be able to get their hands on one of these later on.
Yeah, oh, please do. Please tell us that, yes. So sorry, what wool, that's made from wool, it's not made from nettles, is it?
No, this is made from wool. These are just wet felted purses. I don't know if you can see that they're moulded over a last, and then the final stage of these, before they dry, they actually slice very neatly into the top layer of the felt, and as it dries, it shrinks slightly, so you get this sort of leaf effect to it. So this is just one of the designs that they make in Kathmandu. And then another type of thing that I've got is this, which is velvet, which I source myself, and then it's made with Nepali leather. So I don't know if you remember, but only 5 years ago, Nepal had a terrible earthquake. Some of our workshops were destroyed, so we actually bought a couple of sewing machines, and with the sewing machines that we gave them, they've started doing a lot of this leather work. So that's been a good positive result from that. I'm also got some of these lovely bags. This is a traditional Nepali bag, which is made from woven cotton, which is called Geri cotton. And again, utilizing the buffalo leather, which they have plenty of because they love to eat buffalo in Nepal. Sorry to vegetarians, but it's part of their culture. And you can probably see in the background as well, I've got some lovely felt flowers there. So there's a very broad range of things which I get from Nepal, and we help to develop, and you know, we're constantly changing the designs to provide new products for our customers.
So before all the COVID problems, were you going over there quite on a regular basis?
Yes, I do go out there once or twice a year, but luckily we went out in the autumn, so we got fully stocked up and all our deliveries arrived before Christmas, more or less. So at the moment we are fully stocked, and of course we're doing a lot of online business now. But unfortunately in Nepal they still have a serious lockdown, which has big implications for people who are earning a daily wage, basically, because there are lots of people who just earn pro rata, and if the factories are closed and their jobs, you know, have just dropped off a cliff, basically, it's very difficult for them. So I did a bit of fundraising for that, which was really great, just to keep some people in furlough for a while. And you know, we're hoping that we'll be able to start reordering when the lockdown is lifted out there. And of course India the same, so it's all a bit tricky for them at the moment, but we have lots of their products here which you can still get your hands on.
Yeah, and do you sell through shops then, or just online through?
I do have, yeah, I've got a couple of wholesale customers, and I do have a website as well and an Etsy shop. So, you know, I've got quite a few different things.
No, don't mention that. No.
Oh no, sorry. No, nothing of that. No, nothing of that. No. It's all.
Yeah, no, we don't mind as long as you buy the stuff. Yeah, it doesn't have to be through the online wool show.
The online wool show has actually got a lot of things which aren't anywhere else. So yes, go there first. There's lots of lovely products, and I'm doing a fantastic giveaway today. So yeah.
And the other thing you'll see on the online wool show, excuse me, is some wonderful videos that Bronwyn has made, describing all her different products on there, and they are well worth watching. So please head to the website to see those after you've watched this wonderful thing.
Thank you.
So Max, can we bring you in again?
Yeah.
Have you got a couple of favourite products there?
Yeah, I thought I'd show you these little mini earrings. They're one of the best sellers at fairs. So I've got these ones. They're super tiny, and it's wool wrapped around, and these ones have got a bit of sparkly thread. And they're very cute, and they come in nice colours like grey as well as sparkly purple, so you can match your hair or not.
And you make all these things?
I make all of these. I spend a lot of time winding up little bits of wool. So this is the first design I ever made, and I still sell them now, and they're still really popular. Yeah. And there's a crochet version as well, because all the crocheters got very cross with me for not doing for them.
Cute.
And those crochet hooks are laser cut. I tried to carve them out of cocktail sticks, and that was a disaster.
I think it's amazing. I mean, I've not seen anything like this. Is this a unique product that you have here, Matt?
I think so. There's a few people on Etsy have started doing them, but they're not as neat as mine because they haven't been winding tiny balls for 10 years.
And you don't need glasses for this? I mean,
not yet.
You do it through a microscope?
No, I can see just about.
Yeah. And
muscle memory now.
Yeah. And can we see a knitted moth? Is a knitted moth?
Yeah, I've got some knitted
fly by?
So I've got ones that are in frames. So reflections might be troublesome. So this is a beautiful marbled moth, which is a moth that's in the UK that it's obviously a lot smaller than this, but I have loads of different ones of those.
Any more?
And then I print them onto wooden brooches, and these are quite satisfying. They're quite clacky.
Yeah.
Chunky wood. And then I also have them on hair clips.
So are you always going to stick with the moths, and you're not going to branch out to butterflies?
Well, for now, yeah, there's so many good moths out there, and people don't know about them as much. So I like to think I'm shining a light on the underrepresented insects of the world.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember. Did you say, sorry, I'm a bit stressed. I've been doing this instead. Did you say earlier why you got into moths? Why?
No, I didn't say. Yeah, someone So I was knitting a lot, and someone said to me, why don't you knit a moth? And I thought that'd be boring. They're all little and tiny and brown. And they sent me some pictures. I was like, oh, they're really colourful and exciting. Let's have a go. And then that was 2014. And there's quite a lot of species out there, and I haven't found a reason to stop yet.
So somebody said, why don't you knit a moth?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you do.
I'd knitted an octopus and an axolotl and a few little creatures.
Oh, I see. So you'd already done some.
I'd already done a couple of creatures.
Oh,
yeah.
right. But once you got into moths, it was no going back.
Yeah, no going back.
And do you think it is encouraging people to get more to shine a light on the moths?
I think so. Some people are surprised, and they say they'd never know they were like that. And yeah. And they'll go, oh, a lot of people think I just make them up. Yeah. They're all based on real species. So this one is the Atlas moth, which is the biggest one in the world. It's about 25 centimetres across.
But that's not in Britain.
It's not in Britain, no.
No. I won't tell you what I do with moths when they come into the house, because you'll probably not like me anymore.
They're excellent pollinators, and you should let them back outside.
Oh God, I mean, it's like getting a fly out. You open the window and it's the last place a fly is going to go. Yeah, I need to go outside with all the house lights off and shine a light.
Yeah.
Is it a myth? Are they attracted to lights?
No, it's not a myth. They use the moon to navigate by, which is why they like to go towards it. Yeah. Towards the light. You
see, we're getting even more factual information. Yeah. Yes, Bronwyn, I think you need to tell us more something. Oh no, we know about nettles, the nettles of Nepal. Anything else?
Well, I also go and work in India a lot, and the last time I was there, we went to Gujarat and to an area called Kutch, and in Kutch they've been doing lots of embroidery for hundreds and hundreds of years, but they've started to reintroduce embroidery to young women who can also study and bring up children at the same time, so they can take these pieces home and work on them when they want to. This kind of thing usually takes about 5 or 6 weeks to complete, but this is a very beautiful little embroidered purse, which you can see there with mirror work, and that's one of the things that we've started encouraging them to make, so that, you know, they can have a steady income. And again, we buy directly from them. They also do these lovely tiny little purses which have got embroidery, very, very delicate embroidery on them, and little mirrors. So those are something a bit different, and from the Indian subcontinent as well.
So anywhere else in that area or other parts of the world?
Yes, there's a lot of, I do lots of clothes as well, which some of our customers may be familiar with. So we go to Rajasthan, and I love to work with all the block prints, which are very traditional, from the indigo colours through to lots of different bright floral patterns as well. And we make up lots of quilted coats and lovely kurtas and blouses and beautiful, beautiful Indian cottons. So there's another place that we go to.
Have you got anything you can slip on now? A jacket or something?
I do have a jacket. This isn't, ironically, this is from Burma, actually. This is beautiful block print. I don't know if you can see the fabric of that, but it's a lovely wax print, and it's made up into a little jacket which I designed. So that's quite interesting fabric there. And perhaps behind me, as another textile, you can see this applique, which is a big bed cover, which is also made in Rajasthan. Beautiful natural dyes, and it's all appliqued, very, very detailed, and that's a big bed cover.
That's great. So assuming the COVID thing kind of isn't too bad, and then like next year it wanes a bit, have you got any future plans for doing new products or going to other places?
Oh yes, well, we always design new things anyway, so it's an ongoing program. When I go out there, I take lots of designs with me and we work our way through them. I've been buying a lot of the beautiful fabric called Ajrak, which is a very detailed kind of block print, natural dyes, and we've been making up garments with those. So that's a speciality of Rajasthan area as well. So there's always a new project in the pipeline. Obviously people come to us and say, oh, could you make some floaty dresses? So yeah, that's what we do.
Brilliant. Jen, have you got any plans for when this is all over? Any different things to do with?
Yeah, I mean, I do lots of different things all the time, but I'm in the process of getting the entire yarn shop onto my website, which will hopefully be finished next week. It's taken me like 9 weeks to do, and I'm also in the process of writing a new book. So the plan was to spend lockdown sort of doing new projects for the new book. And the idea with all my books kind of have a theme. This one's actually going to be called Dorset Button Inspirations, because one of the things I get quite a lot is, oh, they're beautiful, what do you do with them? And I decided one night to sit down and see how many different ideas I could come up with, and you know, could I get 101 ideas for Dorset buttons, because there are so many 101 books. And I stopped at about 2 o'clock in the morning on 103, and I've had a few more since. So I'm sort of fine-tuning that. So it's going to be a bit of a mix. It'll have new projects for people to make and new buttons for people to make, but it'll also have a readers gallery with things that other people have made that they've kindly given me permission to show. So I can prove to people that it's not just me that makes them really well. There is a whole host of people who have used my kits, or they've used my classes, or they've learnt them from somewhere else, and they're making these buttons. And it'll have ideas as well, so things I don't need to write a project for, but I can show you a picture and just so this is an easy idea to make, and get a few more people addicted to it. Did I say addicted? Sorry, I meant enjoying. they're not at all addictive, really, they're not.
So if someone wants to get into their first Dorset button, I mean, do you mainly sell kits then?
I do kits and rings and books and patterns and things. So is it right to show some of the stuff that you get in a kit?
Please do, yes.
So I quite often get asked what's a good one for beginners, and pretty much all my kits are aimed at people who've never made them before. And you'll get your instruction sheet. So this has got inside here, you'll have all your full colour and instructions and all that kind of stuff, so you know exactly what you're doing. You'll get rings and a needle. So these are zinc alloy and they're washable. They come from China. So when the COVID first started in January, I had a major panic on my hands. I used to buy British rings, but you just can't get them anymore. So, and the lady I deal with is really nice, and luckily survived everything over there, and is obviously doing me rings again. And you get my hand dyed, I use merino nylon sock wool. I like teaching on sock wool. I find it's a nice forgiving yarn to work with. It's washable, it's nice to dye, but I'm in the process of developing a new linen bamboo kit. So for people who can't do wool, or perhaps don't want to do wool, there will be some kits for that. I'm not a great fan of dyeing plant fibres, so this is something I'm still exploring, but I'm hoping to get something on the website and on the online wool show as well in the next couple of weeks. So but yeah, they're very easy to use. All you need is a pair of scissors, really, and a bit of patience. Your first couple of buttons will always be a bit dodgy, but it's one of those things that you can practice makes perfect, but you don't need a lot of practice. If I'm teaching someone for the day, at the start of the day, their first button will take them about an hour to make. By the end of the day, they're knocking them out in 20 minutes. So
that one you showed of the tree, was it a tree? How does that work? How did you... Is that just the same technique? Or? Yes,
but you're so for this one particularly, you're stitching around the outside as normal. If I turn that over, can you see the little ridges on the base? So that's the spokes. So you do wrap your spokes around, and then for this one, you're just picking up so many spokes here and then doing your back stitch around so many spokes here. So instead of going round and round in a circle like this one, so you do round like this until you filled it in. This one's going backwards and forwards over these few, and then coming back here and backwards and forwards. And then on here, you've got little French knots. So you can do different types of embroidery over the top of them as well to finish them off. And there's lots of different ways of doing it, lots of different ways of playing with it. So everyone creates, even if they're using one of my kits, they'll create something that's really uniquely theirs, which is lovely. It's really nice to see how people play with them and take them further, because obviously other people have got different ideas from me, which is nice.
Yeah, and in the kit you get the ring, you get the yarn, you get the instructions.
everything you need is all enclosed in that kit.
You get a needle as well?
Yeah, you get the needles as well. So I send out size 18 tapestry needles with most of my kits. Occasionally I'll send a sharp needle out as well, because some of the threads it's easier to have a sharp needle. Generally I make them with a blunt one because I don't stab myself as much. And if I'm not stabbing myself, other people aren't either. And if I've got a beaded kit, you'll get a thin sharp needle with it because it's easier to thread the beads onto the thread. But the thing with Dorset buttons is I teach people on wool, but once you've got the hang of it, you can use anything you like. So cotton purling makes really nice buttons. Traditionally they were made in white linen, and so you can use, if you've knitted a cardigan for example, you can use the wool from the cardigan. So again, bear with me a second. So I hang these behind because I was thinking that they would show up, but they don't. So this is my bootstrap sock kit, but the reason I wanted to show you that is because you can see the button is made out of the same wool as the sock. So if you've made a cardigan and you can't find the perfect button for it, you can use the same wool. And you get rings in all sorts of different sizes, so you've always got the perfect button for your project. You just buy the right size ring. So if you want a 2 centimetre button, you buy a 2 centimetre ring or 20mm ring.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Everybody who's a knitter and a crocheter out there, have a thought about doing a Dorset button and adding it on. I mean, it's a perfect embellishment. Gosh, what a salesman I am.
Yeah, thanks for that. Your commission's in the post.
Am I imagining things? Bronwyn, have you changed jacket?
Yes, I have, Nick. After you said that, have I got any clothes to show you? Of course. All I was thinking about was accessories and not clothes. So I've just put on, which you could probably see here, this is a piece of vintage Suzani, which is from Uzbekistan. And we've made it into a jacket. So I think that's a rather striking piece, which is one example of the things that I do. And then I also just got a lovely piece of ajrak, which is all done with natural indigo and vegetable dyes. And this is a lovely tunic that I've got, but you can see the colours and the detail. It's much more detailed than block printing. Very, very detailed blocks which are carved, and they use that to make very fine, almost tile-like patterns. So that's a lovely piece. This is another piece which is a bit more striking. Don't know if you can see that, which is also using natural dyes there. So we have many garments as well.
Yeah, it looks really good. And I was just imagining I might see a Dorset button on there.
Well, yes, I think there might be some kind of mutual design thing going on here. Yeah, I'll just send you a colour board, Jen.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Yes, Dorset goes to the Far East. Or...
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
At one point, they did go all over the world. I mean, they were world famous and they were worn by everybody from Queen Victoria right the way down to peasants in the fields. So it would be good for them to come back that way.
Yeah,
exactly. And what we mustn't forget is that block printing was, you know, the Victorians went crazy for all that stuff. So all the beautiful fabrics that you can see in the V&A with those lovely flowers on them, you know, those are all designs from India which have come across, and it was recreating the English, quintessential English garden on fabric.
Yeah. Can I bring Max in again? Have you any other products there? Just to
I thought I'd show you these little wool pins, which are wrapped again, but they're using Shetland wool, which is what I knit all of my moths with. So thought I should use it for something else as well. But I've got these on an offer for 3 for £20, which I would usually have at a real life show. And then they come in loads of different colours, and they're great. You can get one for your whole knitting group and all be matching.
Anything else?
So I've got everything here. I've made a giant pile and now I'm confused.
I'll tell you, I'll just tip the camera down and we can just look at the back. These two are both made with yarn that's hand dyed by Travel Knitter, and it's a baby camel and silk, and it's really quite shiny and squishy, and these ones are laser cut, and then I hand stitch them. There's almost stitching spokes in a.
They look very buttony. I like those.
Very buttony, yeah.
Yeah, we're getting a good synergy thing going here. Yeah. Everything's fitting together. Yes, they did look Dorset buttony.
Almost.
Great, thanks, Max. So I'm just seeing, I don't think we've had any, have we had any questions? No questions through, but lots of people are saying hello. Sorry, I don't know your names, but
hello. Hi, everybody.
So, thank you very much.
Did you want to hear about our promotions, Nick?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Promotion. It's what I like to call promotions time. Yes.
Yeah. Can I just show you mine, which I mentioned before, these lovely felt purses, but I'm going to give one away with each purchase made on the show, on the online wool show today and tomorrow. So any orders today or tomorrow will receive a free one of these lovely felt purses.
That's fantastic. And there's always a place where you can when you go to do the order, you can send a message. So you say what colour you want, or send Bronwyn a message about what particular variant of the product. Yeah. That's great. Max or Jen, have you got special offers for our extravaganza day today or tomorrow?
Yes, I've got free postage in the UK, and then I've got the multi-buy offer on the brooches, and also a multi-purchase on the mini earrings as well. So you can get 2 for 18 on those.
That's great. Thanks. Jen, have you got?
Yeah, I'm just basically anybody buying anything today gets 20% off. So the price that you see on the screen, when I give you your invoice, when it's all sorted, it will be 20% off of that price.
That's brilliant. Yes, thank you. Yeah, a lot of people have been doing that. The prices you see are without the discount. I think most exhibitors.
It's easier than going through and changing them all and then having to change them all back.
Yeah, mostly it's just, I mean, it was supposed to be special discounts and offers today, but I'm sure some people will be doing it over the whole weekend. Yeah. If you ask nicely. So, yes, thank you very much to Jen down in Hampshire and her amazing Dorset buttons.
Again, not at all addictive.
Sorry?
I said again, not at all addictive.
No, it's not addictive. No,
not at all.
says an addict there. Ika Button, Jen, Fabazar, Bronwyn, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Nick. See you on the online wool show.
Yeah, amazing to learn about all the different things you bring in from the those Far Eastern countries, or it's not middle. What's between the Middle East and the Far East? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there.
Russia.
South of Russia. And Max, thank you very much for joining the chat, and I hope you're well. Well, I hope you all do well.
Thank you.
Today, tomorrow, and for the next few months. I mean, it's really difficult without the wool shows to make a living. I mean, online sales, I think people have said they aren't more than they would have been, but yes, we're all missing the real shows. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Some great things to accessories and wearables, and in the case of the Dorset buttons, you can make your own embellishments and things. Sorry, I'm a man, I don't understand. I haven't got the correct words to say at this point. Yes. So I bid you all a fond goodbye, and thanks very much for everybody who's watched, and for Bronwyn, Max and Jen for having such a lovely chat. Okay.
Bye.
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 Let's try and end this now. Very, very, very unprofessional.